the God of the gaps. Basically, here's what's going on here. There are unexplained features in the universe. I'm saying the best explanation is God. Dan's saying he has no idea what the explanation is, but he's assuming it's not God. And he thinks that's an argument. In other words, here we have a universe. It got here. It must have gotten here somehow. It's fine-tuned for life. Someone or something, it got fine-tuned in some way. Dan has no idea how it happened. Now, if we were going and looking on another planet, looking for life, and let's say we were to find buildings, columns, books, artifacts, what would we conclude? We'd say, well, right away, the evidence points to intelligent life on this planet. Somebody did this. It didn't happen by chance. Molecules didn't just fly together and produce these buildings. Someone did it. We may not know who did it, but someone did it. That's a reasonable explanation. Along comes Dan and goes, well, since we don't know who did it, it's a gap. And we can't really say that someone did it. We just don't know. You can't resort to the good old aliens of the gaps. But we would say, of course we can. We have signs of intelligence, and all we are doing is legitimately inferring that some intelligent being did this. That's all that the argument calls for. It's the best explanation available to us now. Maybe Dan will have some new facts in 20 years and come back and present them. But as of now, he has none. What's interesting about this business of gaps, I should tell you, is that for the atheist, a gap is a nuisance. The atheist goes, well, you know, there's this little gap. We scientists haven't figured it out yet. Tomorrow we'll have an answer, or next week or next year. This is a very unscientific way to argue. Why? Because true scientists love gaps. For a true scientist, a gap is a clue that there may be some defect in our inherent understanding of reality. You know, when we had the Newtonian universe 200 years ago, it explained very well the motions of the planets. But there was one planet, Mercury, whose orbit was slightly off. Newton couldn't predict it. It was a few degrees of angle off. A gap. Now, a lot of scientists with Dan's mentality said, no big deal. It's just a little gap. Maybe there's some matter we haven't found or something. But Einstein recognized, wait a minute. Newton's theory, this gap means that Newton's theory is in a way wrong. And when Einstein came up with his theory of relativity, he went back and remeasured the orbital precession of Mercury, and he found, wow, my theory explains it, the gap is closed. It doesn't mean that there was just a little bit of manure to put into the hole. Newton's entire conception of space and time was in fact inadequate. You needed a deeper understanding of reality to explain the orbital motions of Mercury. So my point is that what atheism is doing now is, you can say, a form of science worship. And if there are things that can't be explained, the atheist has a lot of confidence the brilliant scientists will figure it out tomorrow, whereas in reality, the really brilliant scientists are trying to use the gap to come up with a deeper comprehension of reality. So my point is that this God of the gaps argument is a very unscientific mode of thinking